Hi everyone, welcome to our channel, Rebecca Stew and the Crew. I'm Rebecca. Today we have another Dollar Tree DIY, so let's go over the supplies that we'll need to create this fall sign. We are going to be needing one of these DIY Dollar Tree wooden signs. We'll need a pencil and pen. We're also going to need some paint brushes, some tape. You'll need some wired fall ribbon and some floral picks or sunflowers. You'll need some hot glue. You're going to need a pair of scissors, these wooden letters, they are optional, and then you will also need some of the Crafter Square wooden leaves and pumpkins, and this gnome illustration. You could take a screenshot and then save it to your computer and then just print it out if you like. So let's get crafty. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw this picture here. Like I said, feel free to take a screenshot. I did a real light kind of drawing on the paper, so I'm not drawing that fast. I'm just kind of tracing over what I had lightly penciled in there. It took me a few tries to get this guy just right. Like I said, I'd have no problem with you guys taking a screenshot and using this if you want it as a pattern, or you could just Google gnomes and you could probably print out a black and white picture. And then we'll take one of these gnome plaques and we're going to tape the sign right to, or the picture of the gnome right to the sign. So if you use a graphite pencil, you could just flip this picture over and rub with a stick over top of it, and the pencil marks will show up on your sign. I chose just to tape it because I wanted my hat going the direction that I drew it in. I didn't want it flipped, so that's why I'm tracing over it with an ink pen here. And I'm just kind of pushing hard so that the grooves of the pen will kind of scratch up the wood of the sign a little bit, so I'll be able to see the imprint of the design that I created here. And if you look, you can see really lightly the grooves in the wood there that we'll be able to trace over. So then I'm just going to take a pencil and pencil in those lines so that I'll be able to see them a lot easier when we paint. Okay, so to start off, I chose fall colors to paint him in. So I'm going to do the brim of his hat brown. I'm also going to do his boots brown and then the cuffs of his shirt. So then for the hat, I was going to paint it all one color, and I decided to go ahead and put some stripes on. You could really design your hat any way you like. I think it's really fun with all the different colors for fall that you could play with to make this all different ways. You could even do like a black and orange hat, make him look more like he's there for Halloween. I think that would be fun as well. So then we're taking some darker moss colored green and we're painting the other stripes to the hat. So then I went ahead and decided to do his pants in the same color green. And then for his shirt, we're going to use like a dark golden yellow. And then we're going to use dark blue to do the little patches on his hat. For the beard, this was a little bit different, so I traced it with some darker gray colored paint around the outside border of the beard, and then I kept layering two different colors of gray. I would do like a few little stripes of dark gray, then add a little bit of light gray on top, and I just kept working in that fashion until I filled in his beard to give it some dimension, and that way it didn't just look so flat on the sign here as we paint it. Then at the very end, I took some of the very dark brown that we used for the brim of the hat and his shoes, and I added just a tiny little bit in there and then smeared it around and added a little bit more of the gray on top. And then for his hands and his nose, I just used an apricot peach color. So now I'm going to take a very fine detailed brush. You could use a Sharpie once the paint's dry if you prefer that. method, or you could use the paintbrush method, but I'm just going to trace around the outline of the gnome with the dark black paint and fill in the soles of his shoes so they stand out a little bit more, and that just helps him to pop off of the background there. He seemed to be blending in with the background, and I really wanted him to stand out, especially because we're going to put a little bit of a background behind him. You could use one of the Jot brand paint markers if you have it. Like I said, a Sharpie marker would work here as well. It might be a little bit easier for the detailed lines. Okay, so then I made the bottom of the sign dark green where he's standing at, and then it looked a little bit too flat as well, so I decided to put some fake leaves at the bottom. So I'm just dipping my paintbrush in the paint and then just dabbing it onto the ground in a couple different colors that you would see in the fall. So then we had these fall wood stickers that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. This first one here I want to put on his hat, so I painted it a few different colors and just kind of blended all the colors together that would look like a fall leaf. That one will be for his hat. And then I did trim it with some black paint just to help it pop. It was blending into the background of the hat with all the colors there. So then I took a few more of the leaves. I did one the dark yellow, one with the orange. I did one in a dark burgundy red. I did teal blue and brown. I ended up going back in and taking a little bit of brown paint to all of them just to give it a little bit more of some detailed look so they weren't looking as flat. Some of them I added a little bit of a lighter color just to add some details to the leaves. And then the pumpkins here, I painted the stems brown. I painted the leaf portion green, the pumpkin orange, and then I went back in with some white and brown paint and painted in the little lines of the pumpkins. Now this larger pumpkin at the top there that looks like a jack-o'-lantern, those are the ones that come with the little clothespins on the back. I pulled that clothespin off because I needed a larger wooden pumpkin. Just thought it would look a little bit better. So those lines are a little bit difficult to cover up. So I ended up going back in with some chalk paint in white that was mixed with a little bit of orange paint, and that seemed to help cover up the darker lines in the face and the jack-o'-lantern. And then I ended up going back in with some darker brown paint at the end and adding a few more detail lines. Chalk paint is a much thicker consistency and it just seems to cover up those darker lines a lot better. So we're just putting some darker orange on top, and then we went back in with the brown paint. So now we're going to take that same color brown paint that's on his hat, and we're just going to put a fall tree in the background behind him. I stenciled it in a little bit with a pencil, and then I pretty much just added some branches where I felt it needed to be. You can make this any way you want. You can make a tree just full of leaves. You could not put a tree in the background, really, it's optional, but I thought it looked a little bit nicer to fill in some of the empty spacing. You probably could just leave the whole top empty and completely fill it in with different sayings like gnome, sweet gnome, or things like that. I think those are really cute when people use the word gnome to make a play on words for different signs. They have a bunch of them out right now for Christmas, actually, that have a bunch of different sayings on it like that. So then just taking your hot glue, you just want to glue your leaves on wherever you like. If you can't find these wooden leaf stickers at your Dollar Tree, if they're all gone, you could just use some of the Floral Picks and pull off the smaller leaves and use them in the same fashion that we are here. Once we have all the leaves on, we're just going to glue the pumpkins on. So I'm going to glue 2 of them down on the ground, and then we'll glue one in the middle with him holding it. So I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to put at the top of the sign, but I ended up using these Dollar Tree wood letters to write Happy Fall, y'all. Now the word happy was a little bit too big with the letters that I was using as the stencil, so I ended up squeezing that together just a little bit and overlapping the letters, which kind of worked out. I think it looked really neat when it was done. So it's okay if you need to overlap them just a little bit. Just remember when you paint them, what would be in the front and what would be in the back. So then I chose similar colors to what I used for the gnome and the tree to paint in the lettering. So we used the dark burgundy red. We also did the pumpkin orange, the brown, and then I used a moss green. Now we're going to make a bow. So we're just going to take this roll of ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It is wired. We're going to roll it in a circle and then take a piece of twine, or you can use some more of the ribbon, and you're just going to tie the center off. And then once you have it tied all the way, you're just going to fluff up the portions of the ribbon. So once you have your ribbon fluffed up the way you like it, you can start adding some of the Floral Picks from the Dollar Tree. So this one has a piece of wire already attached to it. So I just put that on the front and then wrap that wire around the center of the bow. And it helps hold the bow together as well as the twine. If you want, you can add a little dot of hot glue underneath of it just to make sure it stays where you like it. And then I glued a large sunflower to the center, and we glued that right to the top of the sign. I also outlined the letters in the black paint, and these are all the different pieces of the sign all put together. I love so much how it turned out. I already have him hanging on my front door. A little early for fall, but he was too cute to keep in a closet until next month. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Also, we post other crafting videos every single Thursday, and then every single Friday I post a what is new at the Dollar Tree video. So I hope you'll come back tomorrow and check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.